Knock knock.
Who's there?
RLCS.
RLCS who?
I don't care. RLCS is back, baby. What's up? And welcome to episode five, four,
4.
four. Yeah, episode 4 of Talkin Carball. I am Austin. I'm here with my friend Colin. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. RLCS existed this weekend, and I watched a good chunk of it, or
Yes.
a good chunk of one specific team of it.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that later, but it's just sort of like the prelims, and so there wasn't really a centralized broadcast. So, but most certainly happy to have professional Rocket League back in a big way. I missed S tier events a lot. That is all I'll say.
Yeah, it was. I forgot how good pros were when they are actually like talking to each other and communicating. The
Yeah,
plays people are making out there it gets me so excited. I've been on the game nonstop since the qualifiers. I've got the bug again, and I'm grinding to the top myself.
you'll be there for the winter split
Oh yeah, absolutely.
when V1 drops gimmick. They pull you.
Uh, I'll get into V1 later, but
Yeah. So I think we have some business to go through as usual.
yeah, I guess I'll go over the business.
I know. I'll help you
So
out.
all right, so we discussed previously about doing a giveaway, and we were going to figure out the form. I think we are going to do that. So be on the lookout for a tweet and a Discord message on how to enter that giveaway. The winner will get, well, you can't actually get giveaway esports decals, but we will send you the money so you can buy your own esports decal.
And I think we both got 4 decals.
I have bought 3, but I still have 300 coins sitting around, and I'm indecisive on who I'm gonna get for the last decal.
And let me just say that they actually look so much better in game than the graphics. So many of the skins that I didn't like when we did the rankings last week, when I see them in game, they look so clean, dude.
Yeah, it's so good. But I have noticed. I bought the V1 decal,
Mm-hmm.
and my percentage of games going to overtime has increased dramatically, and that's like not even a lie. Like this past weekend, I think like 60% of my games went to overtime.
I also noticed that I've been using the rogue decal and I've been sucking lately, so but it is seriously so hyped to see just how many players were repping it. Obviously, people sort of regressed back to their anodized, like monochromatic cars as the weekend went on. But just to see, like, especially for the opening games, everyone was repping, and it makes me really excited because hopefully they'll do more like with the UI and stuff like that. They're continually improving like the esports branding. It's just so awesome to see.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. Basically, it'll just be involved just following our different platforms and just being involved. So great way to get yourself a free decal.
Yeah, I'm guessing your odds will be pretty good if you enter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, that's that. Other thing we had on the docket is recently we've stumbled upon a website that's doing fantasy Rocket League this season. Um, I was looking just a little bit into the format of it. It seemed really cool. Basically, you draft like 6 players, and so we were thinking we might make a league just for our community. And so we'll get the link out to that. I believe the website's called FanRL.
Yeah, fanrl.com.
Yeah. So if you want to take a peek at that and look at it before we make the league and send it out to everyone, do some scouting, or you just want to get involved with it on your own, like and join the global leaderboards, I'd imagine that a lot of these websites have some sort of like prizing and things like that, like Pickstop. So just a really great and fun thing to do.
I'm just saying, be prepared to lose because my team is absolutely cracked.
Who do you have?
All right, so you get the way it works is you get like you have a striker, 2 strikers, 2 midfielders, and 2 defenders, and
Mm-hmm.
so like your strikers get boosted points for goals, your defenders get boosted points for saves, and your midfielders get boosted points for assists.
Mm-hmm.
So I have for my strikers, and each player is like worth a different amount of money. I went for one of the most expensive players on the board, Justin. He leads energy in every single category.
Mm-hmm.
I just put him up top. He's gonna I spent my big bucks there.
Yeah.
My other striker is J Pow.
Mm.
He just shoots.
Double
for
tap
XZ.
Lord.
Yeah. I had beast mode in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Gyro,
Okay.
who had a good amount of assists per game. I had the Octane GG stats going when I was making this up. So, and then defense, had to put my my hero, Mr. Torment, back there,
Mm-hmm.
along with Drees.
I forgot about Drees. That's actually pretty stacked.
Yeah.
So we have 50% of the same lineup, which I was a little worried about might happen. Just because I think we think pretty similarly. But I've got Justin at striker alongside of Blaze. I was absolutely loving what he was putting down this weekend. He's absolutely insane. I saw he tweeted a statistic that he's the first player in RLCS to average more time in the air than on the ground.
That is ridiculous.
So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch Integrity and specifically Blaze play, please do. It is an absolute pleasure.
I saw a lot of hype about them, but I didn't get a chance to watch them, so I'm definitely gonna have my eye out. Yeah. And they have a decent. We'll get into it, but they have a decent matchup to start. So
yeah, they opened up against Rogue, and so I got to get a good look at him. Blaze is one of those players. It's like watching AJ, where like every time he goes in the air, like the only limit is his imagination. He just has that much like mechanical control over his car. You can just see it, just like watching. So, and then my midfield is Reddles and Beast Mode. So sharing Beast Mode there. And then I also got Papator in defense alongside Andy.
Nice. Yeah. So we got one of each pin. One striker, one midfielder, one defender, the same.
Why didn't you go for first killer?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought Justin. I think first killer might score more, but you do still get points for saves and assists, even with the strikers. Mm-hmm. And Justin literally leads energy in every single statistical category.
Yeah. I feel like that was like, because obviously you want to get like one superstar, and that was sort of like the big debate. If you look at the statistics from last season, those two are like anomalies pretty much compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
And also too, just like knowing that energy, like I have full faith that FaZe is going to be good, and we'll get into their results later. But just knowing, and energy is going to be in everything, and Justin's going to be at the forefront of everything because that's just who he is.
Yeah, he's good, and at this point, people won't talk about it. He's been around too long, and people are all on the young gun, but he's still up there with the best in the world.
Yeah, it was like the narrative last year is that he was sort of like slumping and not playing that well for chunks of the season, and it just couldn't be farther from the truth. It's just we're just so used to his floor is so high, basically.
Oh, absolutely. All right. We're getting a little off topic here.
No. So
yes, join our fantasy league. That info will probably also be tweeted out and in the Discord. So make sure you're following those platforms.
Yeah. And last order of business is just a slight tease. Colin is actually going to be back in town next weekend, which is super, super hyped for a large number of reasons.
Yes, sir.
One of which being the potential for an in-person recording session. As you guys know, we are logistical masterminds. So that has obviously been figured out long in advance. Not at all. We will be working on that this week. So hopefully we can find a way to make that happen. And then we might also do some sort of Championship Sunday stream. All that information will be like communicated ahead of time in the Discord and Twitter. But just, hey, happy to have Colin back, and then the prospect of just watching some Rocket League together.
Yeah, we haven't actually hung out since probably May. So it's been a long time.
That's actually insane, man.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we had some non-actual game. We had some news this week that was not specifically related to games. You wanna take the first one there that we have written down?
Yeah, this one was kind of a shock to me. I don't really know how I feel about it, but the true neutral roster is leaving the organization. Um, and I was looking back at the message from like True Neutral, and it made it sound like it was a player's decision that they wanted to find a bigger organization, which is understandable on their part, but it's kind of sad just because that was kind of a big balls move from the org to bring them here. So I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of weird. Like I was excited to see like a South American org really like kind of take NA by storm, and I'm assuming once the transition happens, True Neutral will go back into Sam.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they spent all that money, like moving all the players up to Mexico and into North America, and then the players just kind of leave before they've even really like played their first game. Obviously, as of right now, True Neutral is still supporting the players, and they're still playing under the True Neutral name until something else happens.
Yeah, it just seems like it's sort of. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't want to try and read it out loud, but just basically, it's just sort of a intermediate period at the moment. But it's good that True Neutral is still like making content. They had their own. I think it was in Spanish, right? Their stream.
Uh, Possibly.
Okay,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
I think I saw like a clip from it, but they were still streaming their games, and they're still playing under the True Neutral banner for now. I don't know how long that'll last.
Yeah. All right. We had some. We had a fun little fun team was created. Rizzo and Leth coming out of retirement played with Noxus on their retirement home.
Yes,
As
sir.
just like a fun content run. They did not qualify and they did not make the closed qualifier, but they did. I think they made it through day one of open qualifier, which is good to see. And I think they had one insane 0 second goal to like keep them alive.
Yeah,
So
left faked the bounce and it like just plooped in.
I honestly kind of thought they might make it a little further. Like watching Left videos, he's still really good.
Yeah, and I mean Rizzo was top 6 RLCS last year. Knox is very competitive CRL player, RLCS bubble player. So I have faith that in future events, if they stay together, they'll do good things.
Yeah.
I think just
Big. Oh, you can go.
I was gonna say I think just the really cool thing is like Rizzo is sort of like using his pro experience to like create like new and awesome content. Like he's been streaming pro scrims. He streamed some of their scrims, I believe, and just like even after his team got eliminated, he did his own watch party. So it's just really awesome to see him sort of take like a new take because I don't think most players have either moved on to coaching or they just made different content. But he's like sort of towing the line, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good to see him. Like he was obviously a fan favorite, and to just see him still like involved in the scene is really cool.
Yeah. Do you just kind of want to like speed run through these next ones? These are mainly org
Yeah,
announcements.
yeah, sure. So Evil Geniuses signed German Amigos. They're funnily named the Evil Amigos.
Yep, certainly better than the evil Germans.
Yeah, that has a poor connotation.
Yeah, for sure. But awesome to see a big org get involved in EU.
Yeah, absolutely. Singularity signed Denied, the old Denied roster, with Polar replacing Chippy.
Billy.
He replaced Billy. So it's Justice, Chippy, and Polar on the roster.
I believe all British. 90% sure of that.
Yes. And Marky Duda is coaching the team.
Yeah. Which is cool to see Singularity still involved. And they have a decal in the item shop. So if you like that team, support them.
Charlotte Phoenix finally announced their third, who's going to be Alraz. He replaces Alex, or not Alex, Andy. Liquid finally announced their roster. Everyone knew what it was going to be, but it's Chronic Ronicky and Flakes.
No way.
Not shocking. And Power announced their absolutely cracked lineup of Forky, Mile, and Epic Johnny, who also did not make the close qualifier.
Yeah.
Oh, and John Sandman. Don't forget that.
I feel like there's been a lot of criticism of this move. I think, well, anything that Forky does, there's a lot of criticism around just because he's a player with such like high potential, and doesn't always seem to achieve that. But I think it's cool to have a team like that. Maybe has more of a focus on content than like success. I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of things saying Epic Johnny is really a placeholder, and they're going to sign Aqua once he turns 15 in December.
Okay.
So maybe that team could have a little more success. But I also saw a stat that Forky currently has the longest scoring drought of any RLCS player of like all time,
Oh
where he's
man,
played like 12 consecutive games without scoring a goal in like actual RLCS.
that is a major oof.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the only really enlightening thing to take away from that is mechanics aren't everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think Turbo will ever go that long without scoring. But no hate towards Forky. He gets a bad rep.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this last announcement is a big deal for you.
Oh yes. So to my other poor console players out there, ball control is finally being added to free play on console. So all like the Bacchus mod stuff that you can do in free play, like throwing the ball up in the air, us console people can now do that. So watch out. We're coming. We're coming for the RLCS. Us and our 30 frames and input delay. We're ready to take the game by storm.
I think what's really cool about this too is hopefully this is sort of like the first step, and then sort of like focusing more like on like making console like training capabilities more equivalent to PC, just because like the gap between like all the stuff you can do with Bacchus mod and then like workshop maps and stuff like that. If they can like start making content customized like that towards consoles, that'll just do so much for the people who like are still playing on PS4s and Xboxes.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I would guess a very large portion of the player base that's currently in like plat, diamond, and below is on console.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's so like it's just an easier platform. I think a lot more people have not more people have consoles than computers because that's just not true. But
Mm-hmm.
more people have consoles than I think like true gaming computers.
For sure, and especially like in Rocket League, which is mainly a controller-based game, I think that we have a larger like percentage like console population compared to other esports. So it's definitely something that shouldn't be ignored and like should be catered to, just because
Yeah,
it is like without those tools, it's very difficult to improve mechanically, and so anything that helps that out is truly like just awesome.
for sure. And I'm super hyped. I'm currently downloading the update as we speak.
I think the only sort of sad like tint to that story is that this is like 5, 6 years into the game, but
Yeah.
that's okay as long as it happens eventually.
All right, let's get into the fun stuff.
We get to actually talk about RLCS,
Yes,
which is the
sir.
entire
So
point of the podcast.
yes, finally. So we're only 4 episodes and 20 minutes in, but we're finally going to talk about actual RLCS results. So first we had the Invitational Qualifier, which was 16 teams in a Swiss format. All these teams were invited by Psyonix based on, from what I heard, off-season performances, which had a little, people weren't necessarily super happy about that.
Interesting.
But so they invited 16 teams into this qualifier. The top 8 moved on to the RLCS North American Regional 1. The bottom 8 were placed in the closed qualifier, where the top 8 teams from the open qualifier would join them for another Swiss bracket.
Yeah, and if you don't know how like the Swiss works, so like I have some gripes with Swiss just because I think it's like the best format for like competitive integrity, just because theoretically the more like games a team can afford to lose, like the better chance you have like the better teams advancing. But basically how Swiss works is win 3 games, you move on, lose 3 games, you're out. And you're just
Yeah,
going to continually be matched up against teams that have the same record as you, and it avoids rematches. That's pretty much all it is. Like the thing is messy and the scoreboard is weird to look at, but that's it. So it really is an awesome format. Um, there's a lot of games and a lot of good stuff to go around.
For sure. And so I guess we'll just go through who made it through the open or through the invitational qualifier. So the top 2 seeds for the main event are FaZe is going to be the 1 seed, and they went 3-0, and as did NRG, also went 3-0. They're the top 2 seeds.
The general energy.
Oh yes, the general energy. I apologize.
Shaq is fuming right now.
I apologize, Shaq. Don't destroy me.
You can take the rest of the top.
All right, and then so the 3 through 5 seeds are going to be, I don't actually have the order in front of me, but they're going to be G2, Space Station, and Envy. Mm-hmm. They all went 3-1. And then the 6 to 8 seeds are going to be Ghost Gaming, Torrent, which is former Alpine, and Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, and then so this is the bottom half now. So these are all the teams that didn't make it through. They were kicked down to the closed qualifier. And so these first couple of teams I'm going to read were the teams that were closest to doing so. To qualifying was the Sonics, V1, and True Neutral. All those teams went 2 and 3, and so they were in a sudden death game against those last 3 teams that Colin said of V1, not V1, Ghost, Torrent, and Shopify. So absolutely heartbreaking. Any team that lasts that long in a day of Swiss and doesn't make it, that is just tragic. But then going 12th through 14th was Exet, Oxygen, and KCP. And then going 0-3 was Vibrance and Rogue.
Yeah.
So the way that this worked too, especially, not especially, but just because it was open qualifier, normally there will be like a centralized broadcast for a lot of the Swiss formats, but this one was just the team streams. And so I pretty much exclusively watched Rogue, which is my favorite NA team. And I think, Colin, you exclusively watched V1.
Yes, that is true.
So anything that we say outside of those 2 teams is just scoreboard Steven.
Yeah, for sure.
But stuff that jumps off the page, FaZe Clan coming out number 1, beating Ghost, True Neutral, and then G2. They 3-1 G2 as well. That is, for any FaZe fans out there, that is really, really exciting to see.
Yeah, that's definitely a good start for them. 3-1ing G2 especially, and True Neutral didn't have a great day, but 3-0ing them is definitely impressive.
Yeah.
And then NRG, I watched one game when they took on V1,
mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna say they haven't slowed down. They were just they swept them, and they looked in control the entire time. I don't know what the actual game scores were. Let's see. 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2. So they were all 1-goal games.
Mm-hmm.
But the V1 never looked like they were going to win that series.
Yeah. That's just energy for you. Nothing else really like super, super surprising. I mean, like pretty much all the teams that qualified are what you would expect. I guess the only 2 like quote unquote sort of shocking teams would be the new Ghost roster of Shock, Roldiz, and Lion Blaze, and Torrent, the old Alpine. But even that isn't shocking. Like I feel like outside of like the top 6, pretty much any team can it's completely fair game. So I don't think anyone truly disappointed outside of that.
Yeah, and I'll go little spiel on V1 here just because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So they in Game 4 at this point 2-1. Mm-hmm. The winner moves on. They played Envy, and in classic V1 fashion, took them to a Game 5. Then let's get the actual number here. Played a 4-minute and 35-second overtime, in which they lost 1-0.
Absolutely tragic.
Envy. So if they won that game, they would have been somewhere between the 3 and a 5 seed in the regional. But instead they lost, and then they went on to play Ghost in round 5 and got absolutely smacked. You could tell their mental was just destroyed. So, and they got in both qualifiers, I think, in my personal, slightly biased opinion, kind of screwed by the bracket. Every team they lost to ended up winning in this first round. Like every team they lost to qualified for the tournament in the first round.
That's tough.
And then they played some of the better teams in the closed qualifier. So it is what it is. You got to play who they give you, but it was a bit unlucky for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that truly is tragic, and is just so V1. But
Yeah.
they have a bit of a redemption arc too. And
Yeah.
as far as the games that I had the pleasure of watching that night were Rogue, and there was no pleasure in it whatsoever. To any other Rogue fans out there, well, I'm a new Rogue fan because I'm a Gyro fanboy. And so I've heard about the Rogue pain over the years on Reddit and Twitter, and I felt it for the first time in a bad way. They looked, especially to like on this day, they looked horrendous. They had zero possession of the ball. They had no creativity. They were double committing all over the place, and so it was just lots of just goals from beyond half field, like just flying into the net. Just the saddest thing to watch in Rocket League, especially Pro Rocket League, where they should have solid rotations. So just truly pain.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any of it, but I was getting some text updates throughout, and it didn't sound
It
good.
was so
They
bad.
they did not win a single game in the invitational qualifier. They got swept 3 straight series.
Yeah, 0-9 on the
It was
day.
bad. Yeah.
But
All right.
so I think that takes us outside the invitational qualifier.
Yep, and into the closed qualifier where the bottom 8 teams that we said before played against 8 teams that made it through the open qualifier. That those 8 teams were Integrity Esports, Pittsburgh Knights United, Accelerate, which is the I'm not going to comment on that. Nefarious, Team DBS, Charlotte Phoenix, and Team Pickup.
And these are all pretty much the teams that made it through the open qualifier are the teams that you would expect. Um, I took like a look through, and I like there were obviously like around the bubble it gets kind of messy, but these are all like extremely regular faces that you will see continually throughout the year.
Yeah, I think the only team that you see in here a lot that didn't make it was Flashes of Brilliance, the old 7A2 PC that I made it through the open qualifier pretty much every single regional last season, and they didn't make it here. But a lot of these teams like Pittsburgh Knights, E United, Charlotte Phoenix, Nefarious are in here every single time.
Yeah, and so that led to a pretty stacked close qualifier. Like it's crazy to think that NA is this deep, and then you look at these teams, and these teams are on the brink of not even qualifying for the regional. And especially like now with the 16 team format for each regional, it is beyond competitive.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so the teams that made it through this invitational or this close qualifier, the teams that went 3-0 were Integrity Esports and XSET. And XSET, I was kind of worried for because they in the invitational qualifier, the first game they played, they did not look good. But they came out on Sunday, and they played their heart out, and they went 3-0 and secured their spot.
Yeah, congrats to them. I mean, I saw them play Rogue, and so they looked fantastic, but that's less to do with them and more to do with Rogue.
Yeah. All right. And so the teams that went 3-1 were True Neutral, Susquehanna Sonics, and Team DVS. And for those that don't know, Team DVS is BU Nitrous and Skills. I've never heard of any of these people before, but congrats to them. They went 3-1 on the day. Only loss was to True Neutral.
They've been around the bubble scene. I've seen them qualify for tournaments before. So It's not like anything unheard of, but this is definitely, I think, making top 16 is a new high for them.
Yeah. And then the teams that just barely squeaked in, the bottom 3 seeds for the entire tournament. Stop us if you've heard of these teams underperforming before. Rogue, Version 1, and then Charlotte Phoenix. Some big sighs and some long days for us watching these games, but they made it through.
They most certainly did. The one thing I want to say about Rogue is that even though like this performance across these 2 tournaments looks pretty horrendous, there was a very like distinct moment when things started to work. It was sort of like towards like the end of the Integrity game and then the start of the KCP series. Like they just started. Well, they started actually passing. Believe it or not, does wonders, and they started like working their offense through Tur and Turo. and he was just dishing out dimes, and he was scoring goals. And actually, at the end of the invitational, at the end of the open qualifier, uh, both Turinturo and Gyro were the top two players, like coming like using the stats from Octane GG, but they had the highest overall performance out of anyone in the tournament. So there are a lot of positives for this team, even though they went 0-3 in the first round and they barely qualified. I think they actually are a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. After losing to Integrity, they swept KCP, swept Vibrance, took Sonics to Game 5, and then swept the United.
And they also got reverse swept by Sonics.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to remember. I think Game 3 went to overtime, so they were one goal away from clean sweeping Sonics as well.
Wow.
So they were on a war path.
Yeah, that's a much better turnaround. Yeah. And so I guess the notable teams that actually didn't qualify for this regional, you will not see them at all this weekend. United didn't make it. Oxygen Esports is kind of shocking to me that they didn't make it. They finished last season so good, finishing top 4.
Yeah.
And now they're not even in the first regional.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pittsburgh Knights didn't qualify, also shocking. And then the KCP roster, which is Old Ghost with Wanda Mike, didn't make it either.
Yeah. Out of those teams, I think the only one I really saw was KCP looked horrendous. I don't have anything to say about that. No positives. I want to give a quick shout out to Savvy. I think that we announced his signing as the worst move of the offseason. And when they played Rogue, he was the only person who was awake. I think he scored their only goals and was in general their best player. So I just felt bad watching him play well.
Yeah, send us a Savvy Seal apology form. We will sign it.
Yeah. But like you said, sad to not see Oxygen, sad to see the new PK roster not really working out. Same thing with KCP. So hopefully these teams can bounce back. But as we said earlier, it's just so competitive right now.
Yeah, there's so many good teams. It's so hard to qualify and then to even do well in the main event, which we'll talk about in a bit. But we have a little game to play.
Really, we were playing a game.
Playing a game. Our favorite thing to do is come up with an idea and then give it a stupid name.
Yes.
So what we have here, instead of, we did our power rankings at the beginning, but that took like an hour for each region, and we didn't want to do that. So we've decided to do a show or a game talking about the teams that are trending up and the teams that are trending down, called Stonks or Stinks. So obviously Stonks is trending up, Stinks trending down. Who do you got for your Stonks?
For my Stonks, do we want to do both open and invitational, or just sort of like
I would
overall
just say
throughout the weekend?
Overall.
Overall, I didn't get to watch them play, but I think I got to give my Stonks to FaZe. I think that's unignorable to have a brand new roster outplace Envy, G2, and Space Station.
Yeah, and beating G2 head-to-head as well.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talks about whether or not you can make a team work with this much talent, just with First Killer and AJ just being arguably two top 5-ish players in NA. I don't think that's unfair.
No.
To have them both on the same team and only be working in the system for probably just over a month now, and not too many high tier tournaments. Just the fact that they were able to put down this performance. And I mean, I don't think I think beating True Neutral 3-0 is a feat. They are so fast and so dominant, and that just shows just how mechanically talented this team is. So I'm gonna have to give them my Stonks award.
All right, and I will give my Stonks award to Integrity Esports.
I love it.
They came out of the open qualifier, came into the closed qualifier, and went 3-0. That's if you can burst onto the scene any stronger than that, I hope to see them win some games here in the main event, because from what I heard, Blaze is just really exciting to watch.
For sure.
And they have a guy named Cheese.
They do.
His name is Cheese. So
if you have a chance, go on to Twitter and to Blaze, I think it's Blaze RL. A, toss him a follow, but B, a couple days ago, he has a clip of his friends in a Discord call from when he qualifies, and it's so hype. It's so hype. I think he's like 16 years old, and so I assume it's just a bunch of like kids all in a call together, just going crazy for their friend who just made RLCS. So just such a feel good story. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. All right, and then I'll go stinks.
Mm-hmm.
My first stinks. I'm gonna go. They qualified, but I'm gonna go true neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were a little disappointing, to be honest. We put them at, I think, 7th
Okay.
in our power rankings at the beginning of the year, and they didn't qualify through the invitational qualifier. Let's see what their results were. They swept Rogue, got swept by FaZe, beat G2, and then lost 3-1 to, or beat Ghost, then lost to G2, and then lost to Torrent.
Mm.
And then in the close, let's see, what did they do? They still lost to Integrity Esports. So they qualified, and they didn't do bad, but I think I was just expecting a little more from them. I would expect them to beat a team like Torrent and qualify through that invitational.
Yeah, I think that's tough love, but I think it's fair. And
Yeah.
I think it comes from a place like you're expecting better things from them in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think they need to do better to if they want to make majors, they gotta turn it on a little bit here, which I think they can do.
Mm-hmm.
They just might not have had it on Friday.
Yeah. So for my stinks, part of me wants to give it to Rogue for the reasons I said about the invitational qualifier. That was genuinely probably the worst professional Rocket League I've ever watched in my life. And they looked like they obviously turned it around, and so I think stinks would be kind of hard to give them. So I guess just by default, I'll give it to. Oh man, I'm looking at KCP, and they went 0-9 in the Open qualifier, but they also played EU, Rogue, and Charlotte.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I was looking. I have my honorable mention lined up. If you don't say who I was thinking of,
I'll yield the floor.
I was gonna go Oxygen.
Okay, yeah,
they were invited to the invitational qualifier, didn't qualify there, and then in the closed qualifier still didn't qualify. They got swept by Accelerate,
mm-hmm.
and swept by Sonics.
Yeah,
I think that's a team you'd expect to do better.
And the only team they beat was PK, who looked rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I like that just because, but also a secondary stinks to KCP just because I expect more out of that roster.
Absolutely.
But coming out of that, the best thing about qualifiers is that leads to a main event, which we have.
Main event time. Let's go.
Which we have this upcoming weekend. So the best part about RLCS is just that the stakes feel real. And that's what made these qualifiers fun, and this is what you play for, man. This is what it's all about.
This is the first event towards qualifying for Worlds, and a piece of that $6 million prize.
I don't know what that was, but $6 million sounds tasty.
$6 million does sound tasty.
Yeah. And so we have the first round matches actually already set up. One of the benefits of this podcast coming out late is that if we had done it on Sunday, we wouldn't have had these.
Yeah. So do you want to go through the matchups?
Yeah, sure. So first matchup is NRG Charlotte, FaZe V1, NV Rogue, G2 DVS, Space Station Sonics, Ghost True Neutral, Torrent Integrity, Shopify Exit. Which of those matchups are you excited for?
I am excited for, I think Torrent Integrity I think should be a good matchup, as well as Shopify Exit. Those are the two, like the 6-9 and the 8 and the 6-10 and the 8-9 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of designed to be better games.
Yeah.
Should be good. I'm also fully expecting FaZe V1 to go to Game 5 and for FaZe to win, but that has nothing to do with the performance by either of those teams.
No, I think FaZe are sweeping V1.
Definitely possible.
I can't think back to how First Killer played against V1 in the past, but to me that doesn't feel like a good matchup.
I don't remember either.
All I know is
they
that all I
didn't
know
play
is
Rogue a whole
all
lot.
I know is AJ used to feast on V1.
Yeah.
So that's but hey, I guess asking to be losing a game 5 isn't really a positive either. But maybe that'll happen. Who knows? Maybe they'll even win.
We'll see. Yeah, I doubt it, but
Other than the games you mentioned, well, really excited because I hope Integrity get to have like a good series even if they lose against Torrent just to build confidence. I think if they had drawn someone like one of the big 4, that could have been damaging to them. So excited for that. But also, I really liked what I saw from Ghost when they played against Rogue. Lion Blaze is stepping up to a whole new role. He spent a lot of time on the ball, and Shock and Roldiz were sort of just focusing on enabling him. And so I think that they're much slower than True Neutral. So that's a very, very fun and interesting stylistic matchup.
for sure. And this is actually coming out after the First Touch podcast, which I watched a little bit of today.
Yeah.
And Roldiz called himself the greatest enabler in the world, and then kind of backtracks to give it to Turbo Pulsa. But for a brief moment, he called himself the greatest enabler in the world.
I mean, he turned Shock into an MVP, so. No, he didn't. He was not on that team. I see that comment. Time is a funny thing.
Yes, it is confusing.
Yeah. The other game I really wanted to talk about is Space Station Sonics. I am really big on the Sonics team. I think both I'm just going to call them ZPS. I'm going to trip on my words if I try and say Zombie Poop Shark. But both ZPS and T-Corel are absolute goal machines. And when I was digging for my fantasy team, Andy was like top 5 maybe. I don't know. My memory's bad, but Andy is he was very high up in statistics over the entirety of very high up in saves for the entirety of RLCSX. And so that team is going to be, as long as they can sort of figure out a clean rotation, which they did in the second half of their series against Rogue. They actually pulled off a reverse sweep against the storming Rogue team. So I think that team could give SSG some trouble if they're not ready.
Yeah, and SSG dropped the game in the Invitational qualifier, so.
Who was that against? Let me try and find.
Let's see, yeah.
They got swept by G2.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we have another game here to play.
Do we now?
You've named this one, so I'll give you the floor here.
So the difficult thing about Swiss is you don't know a lot of the matchups. You don't really know anything other than the initial games. So rather than trying to play out in our heads how everything's going to go, we're just going to break it down into 3 categories. Easy claps, teams that auto-qualify like 3-0. Fill the gaps, teams that barely make it. And then getting slapped, teams that get 3-0'd. So who do you have in your easy claps category, Colin?
I got to go NRG. They're the most consistent team out here. It's the easiest pick, but also that's kind of the point of this.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Charlotte Phoenix first, and I don't think they'll have any trouble with them.
I would love to also go NRG, but for the sake of variety, I think I'm going to go G2. I think that they're one of those teams that on their day has the ability to just clap everyone. And I think that FaZe kind of had their day last week, and I think this will be G2's day this time, and I think they're going to go 3-0 easy, taking down one of the big 4 in the path.
And it definitely helps that they're playing Team DVS in the first round, while FaZe and like NV and G2 get slightly more experienced teams. Maybe not better, but more experienced teams.
Yeah, which that definitely plays a role, especially with nerves and like it being a regional.
All right, fill the gaps. You want to start us off?
Fill the gaps. The team that I think is going to sneak through.
3-2.
3-2. Sort of going off what I was saying earlier, I'm going to go Sonics. I think that what they showed against Rogue, that they were down 2-0 in a series to send them on to this event. They reverse swept. So I think that they have that clutch gene. and I'm just really big on them. So I think that they're gonna have a tough schedule. Who do they open up against SSG? So that's already really tough.
Well, I gotta lose 2 to get the what is it called?
Fill the
Fill the
gaps.
gaps roll.
So I think that they'll. I even though I said I don't think they're going to beat SSG. I think they're just going to give them a lot of trouble. But I think that they'll sneak in that final game. What about you?
I think I'm gonna give it to. Well, I would love to give it to version 1.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bandwagon, or not even bandwagon. I'm not gonna be a homer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it to True Neutral. I think they'll go in 3-2.
Okay, I like that.
I think they'll just have a solid game. They might get some bad draws. It's lose to some good teams, but I think they'll go 3-2, make it on.
So you're thinking like they beat Ghost, get like a really tough round 2, and then sort of run the gauntlet from there.
Maybe they beat Ghost, lose to FaZe Clan or Energy, and then kind of ping pong back and forth throughout the whole thing.
All right. In our least sensitive segment, getting clapped, who do you think is going to have a rough day?
I'll go with Team DVS.
Mm-hmm.
I think I didn't watch them play,
Mm-hmm.
so it says no base other than I don't really know them and they have a bad draw to start. I think almost every team in this regional would expect themselves to beat Team DVS.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if they can pull up any upsets, but I'm giving them the 0-3.
0-3? Yeah. I mean that's the easiest shout. For me, I could see either Torrent or Integrity sort of going down a rough path after that. Like as you play against someone who's pretty close to your equal and you lose, I feel like that's mentally sort of more difficult to recover from than sort of just going against one of the big 4. But I like both those teams so much. I'll go Charlotte. I'll sort of take the other cakewalk. They didn't look too great in the close qualifier compared to Torrent and Integrity. So I think that they'll probably lose. Well, not probably. They're going to lose to NRG and then have a rough day from there.
Yeah, I think those are fair picks. And we'll see. Technically, we just predicted like a good chunk of the field, so we'll see how accurate we actually were on Friday.
Yeah, who knows? But one thing I also wanted to just say is just sort of as like a quick disclaimer. Like when we talk bad about players, these guys are obviously all gods. Like we're coming at this from like a fan perspective, not necessarily like an analytical perspective. And like when we say these things, like we mean them very lightly. Colin and I are both champions. We don't have any delusions about our abilities. And
I can't even air dribble. So
and so like what these guys do on a consistent level to compete like where they are, like genuinely, like when we say bad, it's all completely relative, and that all like it's supposed to come from a good place. It's supposed to come from a place of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And it's honestly such an accomplishment to even make it this far that the teams that we've said are getting clapped,
Mm-hmm.
even if we're right, they still get $1,000 at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, this is like these are the top 50 players pretty much in NA at the moment. They prove that. So
yeah,
they deserve the pay.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we want to do for one last prediction here?
Mm-hmm.
Our what was I gonna say? Our overall prediction on winner of the regional.
I like that. So, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I can go first. Now, there's obviously you have a few options here.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many, but a couple options.
Yeah.
A couple of easy answers. I'm gonna go a little not wild card, but different than most people. I'm gonna pick Space Station.
Okay.
I think they, when they're on, they're so good, and I think maybe they start slow, but they turn it on Sunday, and they get the win.
Who do you think is going to be the other finalist?
Oh boy, FaZe.
Space Station FaZe in the finals.
Sure.
That would be really fun. I was giving you the opportunity to toss some spice in there, but your first take is already spicy.
Yeah.
I think. Oh man. I'm looking at these three letters on my screen, and it's hard to look away.
Oh my god, I was so tempted, but I wanted to. I want it to be fun.
Yeah, I personally don't. I feel like Envy is the sort of team that's going to find their feet later into the season. I think maybe sort of the same for Space Station. I think my finals are probably going to be either G2 Energy or NRG Phase, and I think that like Justin obviously has nothing to prove, but I think that they are going to prove that point. I think Energy are going to win the whole thing. I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like a
a fair
literal
take.
jar of mayonnaise, like making that take, like just like the most plain thing ever. I could my fun input would be that I could see Shopify making a really deep run.
Oh, absolutely. I With the way our predictions work, we don't get to predict our 3-1s, but I would absolutely put Shopify at 3-1 in the Swiss stage.
Yeah. I could totally see that just losing one close series to one of the big four and then sneaking through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that concludes everything for the NA regional.
Yeah, we talked about a lot.
Yeah, it's just beyond excited. It's gonna be so much
Oh
fun.
my god, I'm so hyped. What time are the games actually?
I don't know. They the games for this past weekend were
Let's
really
see,
late. I think every day started at
16
7 o'clock.
rounds. It looks like they're gonna start around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, 1 o'clock, and that's kind of like the perfect time.
I'll have to catch up a little bit since I'll be on the road, but
They start on Friday.
yeah. So the Swiss stage is Friday,
Uh huh.
and that's all on team streams, except for I think they're gonna do like a grid overtime type thing
Okay, I have a central
with
hub.
like on the main broadcast that's like looking at all the games, and
Mm-hmm.
then Saturday is the quarterfinals, which are best of sevens, I believe,
Yeah.
and then Sunday is the semifinals, which are best of sevens, and the finals, which are best of sets. That gate best of sevens.
Yeah. So it's a best of three 7 game series, which
Yes,
shows that they are sticking with that format after championships.
yeah, and I'm glad that's. I think that's exciting for the final, but I'm glad they're not doing it for any other games.
Yeah, it's a lot, but that's just oh man, that makes it so much harder to predict any other team other than NRG.
Oh, it does. It really does.
that that I can't see any fun teams like anyone outside the top five winning any like winning a consecutive best of sevens against. Oh, that is
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah, it's tough. You got to take energy out early if you want to get them out.
Yeah, but we will keep you posted. We're trying to figure out logistics as always about potentially maybe doing a stream. Either way, we'll be watching. We'll be active in the Discord. Just dude, just so excited.
Oh, absolutely.
Just
It's just so nice to have RLCS back and to just I don't know. I'm just excited.
even just like having like to hear and like see like the casters again. I don't know. It's just a cool community, and it's been things have just been a little quieter without it the past couple months.
Yeah, the off season has been long, but I'm ready for nonstop RLCS action. Do we know when the EU Open quals are for their first event?
So I think invitational calls are on Friday. Like it's a mirror of this week. So invitational calls on Friday, um, open calls
Okay,
on Sunday.
yes, but we do not yet have the teams for that, so we'll not talk about that yet.
No, so next week we'll probably do a recap of everything that happens in the NA regional, and then probably do some preds for EU.
Absolutely, sounds like a good time for our in person recording.
Yes, sir. Definitely gonna be no issues there.
Oh, absolutely not. But it's not like there's ever any issues on our current setup.
I can't think of a singular time where we had sound editing issues or lost a segment or anything of that nature.
No. Well, we've been getting some pointers, so hopefully this one sounds even better.
Yeah.
Apparently I have to be brighter.
Yeah. So think we're good to wrap up?
Yeah, I think so. This might be our shortest episode so far, but I think that's probably fine. We didn't ramble on as much as we normally do, which you guys are probably thankful for.
Yeah. No, I thought that's certainly everything I wanted to get to.
Sounds good. I guess I'll close it off. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, check out the Twitter and the Discord for info on future episodes, our giveaway, the Fantasy League, and just any discussion about the episode or about Rocket League in general. Yeah. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week after the first official event of RLCS.
Yes, sir.
Should be fun.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone. Peace.
Adios.